Welcome everyone again to this ShareCafe Hidden Gems webinar. Today we are talking oil and gas, agriculture, payroll systems and pain management. Now, if you really want to know what's going on in the markets at the moment, the best piece of content I saw this week was a really interesting video. We've just put it up on ShareCafe. It's from Platinum Asset Management. More importantly, it features their CIO, Andrew Clifford. It's almost a warning about markets. He talks about it's entitled "The Speculative Market in Growth Stocks Gives Cause for Concern." And he talks about the speculation in growth stocks, highlighting the huge valuations being put on companies like Afterpay and Tesla. And he mentions those as examples. He understands that they're all great businesses with brilliant prospects, but he's concerned about the price people are paying for these businesses. And that's an important lesson in these sort of markets we're in at the moment. So in that regard, do your own research. We're actually going to introduce some research onto ShareCafe in the coming weeks. We've got some analysts who have written some reports on some of the companies that have appeared on our webinars. So watch out for that. For advisors and brokers that are online, this event is obviously CPD accredited. You have to watch the event. We have a timestamp next to your attendance. So if you want CPD, please watch the whole event. For Q&A, there's a box online. Type in your questions. I'm watching those questions. And at the end of each presentation, if we have time, we'll go over those questions. Okay, so let's make a start. First up, we have PainCheck, ASX code PCK with a market cap of 124 million. It's had a one-year return of minus 40%, which I'm sure Philip will explain why. PainCheck's vision is to be the first to market with innovative pain assessment products and services that improve the quality for people in pain. It's the world's first pain assessment tool, and it has regulatory clearance in Australia and in Europe. It recently raised $10 million. We have with us the CEO, Philip Daffis. Philip has over 20 years global experience in marketing and business development in the medical device and diagnostics market. Philip, over to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for that introduction and welcome everybody, and thank you for your time today. My name is Philip Daffis and I'm going to share with you some recent business results and new developments within PainCheck, demonstrating our ability to continue to grow the business and provide a safe and effective clinical tool for carers and residents in aged care during these very difficult times. As Tim mentioned, my background is strong in medical device and diagnostics. I've worked for more than 30 years in this field. I had senior roles at Roche Diagnostics in the UK and Germany, their global headquarters in Mannheim for the diabetes monitoring business. And I joined Cochrane in the mid-90s, heading up their European business out of London for 4 years before coming to Australia to head up the global marketing. So I'm applying these experiences and capabilities to make PainCheck a global success. The PainCheck business model is software as a service, incorporating AI technology to assess pain levels. It's a medical device that comes in the form of an app. It's got peer-reviewed publications and is regulatory cleared, as mentioned, in Australia and Europe, and now going through FDA for the United States. It's protected, the technology is protected through patents already granted in the US, Japan, and Australia, and as of recently now formally accepted in China. To date, we've successfully entered this aged care market in Australia and also in the UK, Singapore and New Zealand as part of our global expansion, and now commencing in larger markets, including the home care market and in the future, the hospital sector. The product's got more than 80% gross margins, reflecting the digital technology and low cost capability. So what's the problem we're addressing? And it's all around pain. And pain assessment is difficult. But it's profoundly difficult for two extreme groups. Firstly, those living with dementia and cognitive impairments who've lost their ability to reliably self-report their pain severity levels. Secondly, pre-verbal children who have not yet built those communication skills to verbally express their pain. Well, these people pain is often underdetected or not detected, leading to misdiagnosis, incorrect treatments that can impact the quality of care provided. To quantify this, there's 400 million pre-verbal children in the world at any one time, and there's more than 50 million people living with dementia, growing to 75 million by 2025. So our sole mission is to give a voice to those people who cannot reliably verbalize their pain. We focus on people being cared for in aged care, or in home care, or in hospitals, where a carer or a nurse has to assess their patient's pain severity levels when they often cannot reliably communicate or explain themselves. This includes people living with dementia, with cognitive impairment, complex needs, and those in aged care, often who are living with chronic pain for years and believe that that's a normal state. Well, we can tell you that's not the normal state. It doesn't need to be a normal state anymore, and PainCheck provides the tool for carers to assess those people's pain. Our first product to market is the adult product, which has been on the market now for about 2 years. It's focusing on people living with dementia. And today there are a number of pain assessment tools, or have been around for many years, that are being used in aged care and hospitals to assess pain for those who cannot verbalise. If you look in the middle here, there's the Abbey Pain Scale. It's a multi-dimensional pain assessment tool. But its difficulty is it's very well developed, very well researched, but it is manual and paper-based. It's not used at point of care. It can be subject to user bias and requires, at times, specialist nursing. What we have done as PainCheck, on the right-hand side there, we have intelligently automated the multi-dimensional pain assessment process, and we've introduced artificial intelligence to automate the facial assessment, which is the most complex part, with assessment of 9 microfacial features of pain through the AI technology and camera assessment. It takes 3 seconds and gives the carer an immediate result. The results are a fully mobile medical device that brings pain assessment to the point of care, maintaining the proven clinical practice of pain assessment while significantly improving the clinical process. I'm also really pleased to say that Dr. Jennifer Abbey, who developed the Abbey Pain Scale, is on our advisory board, and she's working very closely with us to help transition from the older tech to the new PainCheck technology. Also pleased to confirm the $5 million government grant that was provided to us last year to fund 100,000 PainCheck licenses within aged care has now been extended by the Department of Health to run through to June 2021. That's a 7-month extension. This is just to ensure we can roll out PainCheck, those 100,000 people live with dementia in aged care during these difficult times, improving the care and safety for both the residents and their carers. To date, we've received around 3 million of that grant as we've rolled out close to 50,000 of those beds, and we are targeting 100,000 dementia beds by June 2021 and to receive the full 5 million grants. Most recently with COVID-19, we've actually recognised additional benefits of PainCheck. What's clear now is that both residents and carers are vulnerable during COVID-19. What we have done at PainCheck, we've pivoted to using remote technology to deliver our sales process, our implementation and training programs, all remotely while aged care facilities are in lockdown. We've been using e-learning platforms and online workshops, providing education, allowing carers to continue with their work and getting access to PainCheck. Another benefit about PainCheck is that pain assessments can be conducted rapidly within 2 to 3 minutes and from a socially caring distance, more than up to 3 meters away. This makes it safe and eliminates paperwork and reducing the risk both to carers and their residents. The other value of this is that we can use this capability now as we internationally expand our business and to provide it on a global scale in a highly cost-effective manner. This is the results from our June quarter. This shows we continue to sell and implement during the quarter while resident aged care facilities were effectively in lockdown and we could not get access to them in terms of face-to-face meetings. So we now have, as a company, more than 200 aged care clients, over 700 aged care facilities, more than 61,000 aged care beds, which is around 20% of the, more than 20% actually, of the market here in Australia. We are rapidly becoming the most commonly used tool, clinical tool in aged care in Australia. If this provides a bit more granularity of data, as you can see, we were growing prior to the government grant, and we've continued to grow since. So we've actually got an ARR of around $2.6 million, and if we continue on this basis and implement the full 100,000 dementia beds, we'll be close to a $7 million run rate ARR by June next year. The other thing we do is we track every single pain assessment conducted on our portal, which could be accessed by the aged care facilities to manage their care better, and for us for future product developments. 135,000 cumulative assessments as of June. There's now more than 160,000 assessments conducted to date, which shows great clinical utility and very good use of the app. This is a list of 20 of our 200 clients, and the key message here is that we've got large, mid-sized and small aged care facilities using the app, and we've also got private and public and not-for-profits. So it's a good mix of clients, and it's all around Australia and the UK, Singapore and New Zealand. Our market opportunity is pretty significant. For the adult app, we really see the dementia market split between the aged care facilities, which is around a $300 million market opportunity. We're well penetrated in Australia. We are in the UK, and we've got FDA clearance, or we're working on FDA clearance now for the US market. The larger market opportunity, we believe, is in the home care. That's probably 10 times the size, where people will want to stay longer, and where most people with dementia currently reside and will reside for the future. So governments are supporting the home care initiative, and PainCheck fits in really nicely into that model. So big markets, both in aged care and also home care. The other product we're working on is the kids version. The kids app is in clinical trials right now. It's designed for two market sectors. It's for hospitals, for newly born children, to assess pain while in the hospital. But the big market opportunity, we believe, is in the home care for mums and dads to actually assess whether their children are crying because of pain or just for hunger. There are something like 140 million births each year and 60 million first-time parents each year in the world. So very significant market sizes. This is a summary of our product launches. I've covered most of these from the talk, and this information is available on a larger presentation on the ASX today. So catalysts, strong catalysts for the future, for the next period, covering both aged care, home care and hospital sectors. Finishing off, strong team, very well experienced in technology, research and strong commercialization, and a very experienced board. So I will, market cap, as I said before, we're around $120 million market cap. We've got $15 million in the bank, and there is no debt. A good mix of retail, family office and institutional investors. On that note, I'll hand back over to Tim.
Thanks, Philip. You might have to unshare your screen too, I think. A couple of questions too. These questions came in straight away. One's in regards to the residential aged care grant that expires in 2021. And the question is, the guardian of the dementia patients may continue and withdraw the subscription, depending on the effectiveness of your product, I assume. So what's the growth plan beyond the $7 million of annualised recurring revenue next year?
All our contracts are 2 to 3 year contracts. The first year of the contract is the government funded. The second and third years are at our normal rates. So the 7 million we talk about ARR in the future, that's our calculating our future revenues post the government grant. So all contracts are 2 to 3 years. And you know, the thing about this is that for an aged care facility to set this all up and run with it, it's a significant amount of work. This is not done for the short term, it's done for the long term. So contracts are long term, and first year is government funded, second and third years are at our standard PainCheck rates.
Right, okay, I've got questions coming in thick and fast. You've been in the UK for a while as well. When do you expect to see some revenue there?
Yeah, the UK, we started end of last year, and of course, COVID-19 really hit everything bad in the UK. We've actually got sales started already this last month. That's good. We've got some sales early on before COVID. We've got some new sales happening this month already. And we've also got a partnership with a company called Person-Centered Software. They've just hired a full-time, they've got 50,000 beds in aged care they supply to, and they just hired a full-time PainCheck salesperson to target those markets, to target their market and their beds. So we're now seeing the UK market opening up, and we see good sales potential for the next 2 quarters. And
do you see the opportunity for government grants in some of these other countries?
Oh, potentially, yes. There is NHS has an NHSX fund which looks at new technologies, digital technologies. We've and our team, they're really experienced, very well experienced. They've got very good contacts in NHS, and there are a number of grants we could look at. But we see this as a product that's going to be sold into aged care, as we did initially in Australia before the government grant came along.
And is there a process for FDA approval for this product?
Correct. We're going through the de novo process. So that's a newish process, which means low risk products. But the file is with the FDA. We're waiting for them to come back to us to confirm our pre-sub submission, or pre-supplement submission, should I say. And then we've got our clinical trial partners all lined up to do our work in the US. And to get to, we're targeting FDA by end of 2021.
And one last question here. So how deep does the product get integrated into the facilities, processes and procedures?
There you go. One slide I didn't put into so many slides I wanted to show. Yes, we've got integration agreements now with 9, the 9 major players in aged care in Australia and with one of the largest ones in the UK. So what that means is when we do a PainCheck assessment on our point of care device, or on a phone or on an iPad, it gets automatically downloaded into the care management system, and from there the carers can actually track their data for regulatory reasons, for clinical reasons, and then drive their care planning. So we've integrated with close to 100,000 clients. We've covered more than 180,000 beds.
Great, thank you, Philip. Thanks for your time. A great presentation, a great innovation as well. Good luck.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Next up, we have Wide Open Agriculture, ASX code WOA, market cap 125 million, with a 1-year share price return of, get this is not a typo, over 1,000%. Wide Open Agriculture is a regenerative food and farming company. They partner with farmers committed to rebuilding healthy soil, enhancing biodiversity, and restoring waterways. We have with us the CEO and Executive Director, Ben Cole. Company recently did a $3 million capital raising early back in June. Ben, thanks for your time this afternoon. I'll pass over to you to give a background and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Tim. Really appreciate it. Tim did a very good job there of describing regenerative agriculture. A very simple way to frame it is it's effectively providing nutritious food from healthy farms. That thematic is strong and absolutely growing. It's a $1 trillion market. Indeed, health and wellness sector is the largest sector of food and beverage experiencing growth. It was huge prior to COVID. Of course, post-COVID, people's recognition around health, their immune systems, has only made this thematic stronger. And indeed, our consumer base, as you'll see from our sales, has really responded to that. Thanks. I'll go to the next slide. We have a very tight capital structure. As Tim mentioned, we recently did that capital raise. Our largest shareholder wanted to retain her position, showing the sort of loyalty and commitment we've got in our shareholder base. We've got a very strong group of top 20 that have been with us for the early days. And as a company that's got a very strong both for-profit and for-purpose mission, that means a lot to us. And the board that we've brought together is very strong right across the financial capital raising market with our chairman, Anthony Maslin, and have some excellent expertise in branding and exporting food, and then all the way through to the regenerative farming expertise. I'll keep moving, thanks. So the commercial strategy, the business model is actually simple. We take the best of West Australia's regenerative produce and offer it to global markets. Our strategy is kind of themed across three groups of threes. We've got our grow business, that's our core business, which I'll talk you through, which is our Dirty Clean Food brand, based around both beef and lamb, but expanding quite rapidly. Our diversify, which is looking at oat products, most specifically oat milk, which is a very exciting growing market. And our innovation program is our plant-based protein, which is really very, very exciting, both in scale and size of the market that we can disrupt there. And those three, the next three is kind of our trilogy of products. Regenerative farming is about diversity, about ensuring that you're maintaining a balance both on your soil and in your farming systems, and that's why we've chosen those three. Next slide, thanks. How we deliver these products to market is through our very exciting brand. It's Dirty Clean Food. To be fair, our chairman's mother-in-law hates the name. She's not in our demographic, to be fair. The name is really targeted to a millennial and baby boomer market, where we're trying to express that dirty is about clean, nutritious, vibrant soil. Clean is about no hidden nasties. We've got an absolute wide open story. You can look straight back to the farm, to where this food has been produced. And that story is so prevalent now to consumers. Everyone wants to know the story that's backed their food. And that's really what Dirty Clean Food is offering. What we've done very well and successfully is get it into, I guess, the rock stars of food, who are chefs. You've got to show quality. You've got to show that you're matching their expectations week in, week out. But also they do want a story. With that, we implement our retail strategy. We're across 30 independent supermarkets now. We think we're really getting a solid foundation there so that we can start to engage and talk to the larger national supermarket chains. And then our online has been very, very successful. You'll see in the next slide with the results. What's great about online, of course, is you've got that direct point of contact with consumers, and we're really experiencing some great growth, as you can see there. Our last quarter experienced 49% growth. That was, deep in, certainly in West Australia, the closure of restaurants. Online absolutely consumed all of that loss from restaurants, and now we call it our 1+1 approach. The restaurants, we're very lucky here in West Australia, have reopened, and we're seeing some really positive signs that this following quarter is also going to be following that trajectory. And that's here in West Australia, a relatively small market. We're very interested at looking at those eastern markets, and of course our northern neighbours. West Australia has an excellent reputation for agricultural produce, but also logistics with our Southeast Asian neighbours, to be frank. So we're looking forward to expanding into those markets with what is a very proven brand. Next slide. I'll talk first about our plant-based protein opportunity. I mean, in simple terms, if you haven't had a conversation with someone who's either eating less meat or even eliminating meat from their diet in the last week, I'll be surprised. They're huge markets. They're open for also disruption. Really, the closer we get, particularly to the oat milk and the plant-based protein markets, they're almost cottage industry. It's not about demand. It's definitely about supply. And there's some very good networks working in that space to encourage new companies like ours. Next slide. The Australian sweet lupin is a really phenomenal food. We feed it to our sheep on our family farm, and it is an amazing source of protein. And for the last 20 years, people have been trying to understand how to get lupins into human consumption. Right now, it's a $200 million market, but only 4% of that is consumed by humans. It's non-GMO. It doesn't have phytoestrogens, which is one of the question marks over soy production. It's also important to us that it's a very key part of a regenerative farming system. Next slide, thanks. So what we've unlocked effectively is a technology that allows you to unfold the proteins of the lupin. So it's a novel process, not novel food technology. It's the process that's important, and effectively the protein is unfolded into a 3D molecule that allows it to attach to the sugars and fats and carbohydrates that are similar things to plant-based burgers. It also makes it more soluble, so potentially in the plant-based milks as well. So it really opens the lupin market up to this very exciting and, like, quite frankly, immense plant-based protein market. Next slide. So it's exciting because we see two fronts here. Once we demonstrate how this technology works, we can go straight to the Beyond Meats and Impossible Foods and Nestle's of the world and say we have an environmentally credentialed plant-based protein. We can go through that business-to-business channel, but also now with our very established brand, Dirty Clean Food, our very strong product development team, we could also bring out our own product lines. And we see that quite exciting in that we could do that within Australian markets, and then perhaps the B2B goes to other companies. We have a global exclusive license for the life of the patent. So it's a very secure agreement with Curtin University. Just moving along. Built a great team. We've engaged CSIROs, Food Innovation Lab. They've got some great experience with other commercial partners, people like V2 Food and APP, who you may have seen. Process partners are our food engineers. They're helping us really tie up and ensure the commercial feasibility study. They're the largest food engineering and processing consultants in Australia. Next slide, thanks. So now to go into our priorities, the first one is to build the existing business. You've seen that growth that we've achieved. We're very happy with that online growth. Also very interested in tying in close to meal kits, who we have a great relationship with too here in West Australia. We see great potential in our digital strategy in this COVID world that we now exist in. And we also see the Asian markets when things settle and air freight returns. We have good relationships with 2 Singaporean distributors that we really want to extend. The first thing they do is check, do you have a good brand in your local market? The answer is yes, we do. And so we're really ready to pounce on that opportunity when conditions prevail. Next slide. Obviously, we want to build the proposition in our online market. So we have brought in pork and chicken recently. So we've really got along with our sustainable seafood partners, we have the proteins all covered. We also have some family meals ready to go. The oat milk, very exciting market, $2 billion market, grew at about 2,000% in US markets. Europeans effectively are eliminating almond and soy milk and replacing it with oat milk. You might have heard about Oatly, the market leader, now a $2 billion market cap business, started just over 7 years ago to really kind of get penetration. We see a lot of opportunity for disruption here around a regenerative West Australian oat product and our lupin protein, which I've given you more information about as well. Final slide, thanks. We are a regenerative company. We are very much for profit and for purpose. As a board, as a management team, we're committed to being carbon neutral by 2023. And we see food and agriculture really playing an important role in meeting our expectations around sequestration of soil carbon, but also reduced emissions as well. And actually, we see that as a very important part of our overall story to our consumers, to meet their expectations around their environmental and societal values. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Ben. And we do have many questions. They're coming in thick and fast. How come we haven't heard about lupin before? And then how does that compare to that massive soybean market?
Yeah, in West Australia, we've heard a lot about lupins. We've been feeding them to sheep for 30 years. There's been a lot of attempts to get lupin in its current form into food, into people's diets. But it's the texture and its inability to gel that really limits it. It's a little bit like pouring sand into a glass. It drops to the bottom, so it doesn't mix with other food ingredients. So it's got very limited uses. We cook with it rarely at home, but it's generally kind of a, yes, lupin's in there. This new technology unfolds it and allows it to really form a gel. In smell and taste from the benchtop scale, it smells and tastes like soy. So it really changes its profile. And I think that's why we're so excited about it, because it's a genuine new entrant into this. Well, I mean, the soy protein market alone is close to $7 billion per annum. So to disrupt and enter that market with an environmentally credentialed new plant-based protein is very exciting to us.
And can you talk a little bit more about logistics and processing? That's obviously a cost.
It is.
What's the plan there?
Yeah. I mean, there are great logistics to get lupins effectively to our export markets now. But that's why actually as a West Australian company, it doesn't often make sense to manufacture in WA. But when you look at the larger ingredient companies that have done well in soy, they actually do put the manufacturing facility to value add it from soybean into soy extract very close to the farms. So we see a lot of opportunity there, in that WA produces 60% of the world's supply. So we want to bring that manufacturing facility here to West Australia and then offer it to markets. And then it's, of course, a value-added product. You saw, the sort of value uplift from what is now a $500 a tonne product to, if it manages to rival the price of soy extract, it'll be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a tonne.
Impressive numbers. There's a question here. When do you see your products on shelves of major retailers? Also, how are you placed to scale and disrupt the innovative plant-based protein market?
With the national retailers here, I mean, we're effectively, now that we're with independent retailers and we've got those secure supply chains and that sort of consistency, we're pretty much ready in the next quarter to be having those conversations. We're very interested in offering them our proposition, go to them on our terms with our brand. We think supermarkets are actually looking for sort of a demonstration, and we align with brands like Dirty Clean Food, and we wanted to always go in to those negotiations with a position of power. Our marketing manager, Marilyn Nelson, has worked a lot. She's from Mrs. Max Pies, worked a lot with the big supermarkets, so she knows how to approach them the right way, I suppose. How do we disrupt the plant-based protein market? It's bringing something that is absolutely environmentally credentialed, but very, very high in protein. It's exactly why people are choosing to eat plant-based products, for their environmental credentials. So if we can demonstrate that as a premium plant-based protein, we really feel we're in a very sweet spot to disrupt that market.
And there's some questions around like the core differences between yourselves and VT Food and Beyond Meat.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly different in many ways, in that we've got our Dirty Clean Food brand, our oat milk, around plant-based protein specifically. What I see, and what the board and the management team see as exciting, is that we don't see V2 Foods and the Beyond Meats of the world as competitors. We see them potentially as customers. If and when we get to that point in commercial negotiation, we're happy to supply. West Australians grow over 1 million tonnes of lupins now, and as I said, only 4% is consumed by humans. If we're offering the right price indicators to farmers, supply will increase. So we see no reason why we can't offer it as a B2B opportunity, as an ingredient to those sorts of customers, but also potentially hold some back for our own Dirty Clean Food product line.
Sorry, Ben, looks like Tim's internet has dropped off there. But I'll jump in with a few more questions that we do have.
Always a relief. I'm in rural West Australia, so normally it's my fault. So that was a relief.
No problems.
Yeah.
In terms of the market research, can you explain a little bit about that you did to choose the name?
Yeah, for Dirty Clean Food, yeah, I mean, we did extensive research. We used West Australia's leading branding agency, and it was really a decision by us to choose a name that was genuinely, again, disruptive. And what's exciting for us is now actually when you put a brand out, and yeah, we've done a lot of feedback. People like being a part of something a little bit edgy, a little bit pushing. You'll notice the colouring, the yellows and the reds. That's not what you see normally on the meat shelf. And that works. You've got 5 seconds to get people's attention in food when they're in a supermarket or online shopping. So that's the intent, to get that sort of capture and then get them to turn the packet over and understand the very deep story of regenerative farming and how we respect our farmers.
Been a great presentation. Plenty of questions coming through, which we will deal with offline. And get those through to you. So those people have submitted questions. We will get answers to those questions from Ben. But Ben, yeah, great presentation. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, David. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Next, we have PayGroup, stock code PYG, which has a market cap of just under $50 million. Its 1 year return is 10%, which is a good return in these very uncertain times. And PayGroup is a leading provider of payroll and human capital management software services. The company provides software as a service payroll solutions and cloud-based human capital management platform for data aggregation, reporting and critical workflows. It also provides workforce management services. Its COO, Sachin Gokhlani, is with us now. Sachin, over to you.
Thanks very much, David. If you could jump to the next slide, please, David. Thank you. So everybody, my name is Sachin Gokhlani. It's my pleasure to introduce PayGroup to you today in the next few minutes. And to do that, what I'd like to do is just ask some simple but burning questions in HR today. Have you ever had your pay calculated incorrectly or know anyone who has? Have you read about underpayments and payroll frauds? Has chatting to HR ever been a frustration to you? And what PayGroup is simply is a multi-country payroll and human capital management solution provider. So what does that actually mean? We, for our clients and clients' employees, ensure that we calculate their pay timely on a regular basis. B, we ensure that our clients and clients' employees are kept compliant in all our jurisdictions that we service them on a regular basis. C, not just compliance and calculations accurately, we ensure that our clients and clients' employees are paid on time and paid the right amounts in their salaries, and we also pay the right amounts to the statutory bodies to keep them compliant. And finally, we offer what we term the hire to retire solution by digitizing our clients' HR teams and for giving our clients' employees all the digitized modules to perform and to manage their communication with payroll divisions. And one of the latest ones we've released is our new chatbot called Tozy, which you've seen on the screen there. Next slide, please. So just a snapshot of what PayGroup actually is. With 14 years of growth, PayGroup today services customers in 33 geographies across Asia Pacific and Middle East. We do that for payroll. We provide a global HCM solution with all the common modules that you would have heard in the market, like applying for your leave, doing your expense management, rostering, timesheeting, onboarding, and so forth. And I'll come to that soon. We've grown our client base to 915 clients, which are predominantly multinational corporations, either selling to the headquarter regionally or selling to the subsidiaries that they have across the regions. Over time, we've grown from a simple office across in Singapore and in Asia to 11 locations globally through organic and acquired growth. We've extended our team from a humble 2 people 14 years ago to 183 that we are today. We've really invested and focused on converting all those manual HR processes into more digitized processes. And we've also enabled most of our HCM suites to be delivered on scalable SaaS cloud platforms. One of the great things that we've also been able to achieve over the last 3 years, and we're very proud of that as an Australian and Asia-based provider, that Gartner has recognized us in their multi-country human capital management guide. And it's our 3rd year running that we were included in that, which our 3rd year finished about last week. So happy to point people towards that if needed later. Next slide, please. So our investment over time and our growth over time has led us to go from simply doing what we were originally 14 years ago, which was offering timely and compliant payroll, to what we are today, providing 27 HCM modules to our customer base. Some of these are quite common modules, which I'm assuming everybody would have either heard about or used in the past, and payroll being the most common one across 33 countries. Then we have the common modules, as I mentioned earlier, like your leave modules, and that's where you can use your mobile apps, PayGroup app, to apply for your leave, get the workflows approved. Similarly with claims management. And we've invested a lot in developing more around recruitment, time and attendance, rostering, learning and development, talent management, as we move our customers from your core HCM to your strategic HCM, offering the, as I mentioned earlier, the hire to retire scheme for all our clients and our clients' employees. And we develop all these modules out of our teams based in Australia, in India, and in Philippines. Next slide, please. Who are our customers? We've shown a sample here on the screen, highly diversified, very loyal customer base. How do we generate so many customers with our quality? Well, it's there in our retention rates. We sign customers for a minimum 3-year term, repetitive revenue, annual recurring revenue, 95% retention rates, which gives us the opportunity to continue to cross-sell and upsell as we add more geographies or as we add more modules to our HCM suite. Some of the common names that you can see here, Westpac Bank, which I'm sure most of us will recognize, Appen, in the professional services, we do payroll for them across 7 countries in Asia Pacific. You've got Michael Page, who is a great workforce management company where we do a lot of contractor workforce management. And we have Infineon, some of the great Asian multinationals as well, who have sprouted out across Asia Pacific and even into Australia, with a great example being Temenos, who has been a great Asian customer for us, but has done 5 acquisitions over the last 3 years in Australia, and we continue to grow with them across the region. Next slide, please. To give you a view of how the company has performed since IPO, we thought we'd give you a bit of a growth scorecard. And we've listed on 29th of May 2018, so our first real year of reporting, and we are a 31 March year-end company, not a 30 June. So our FY19 is 31 March 19, and our FY20 is 31 March 20. You can see that how we measure our growth is through the annual recurring revenue that we have. And between FY19 and FY20, it more than doubled through organic and acquired growth. The core driver of our growth is really the number of pay slips that we deliver on a weekly, fortnightly, or annual basis. In FY19, that was 630,000 for the year, to where we are at the end of FY20 at 4.7 million. And over time, since 1 April, we've also done an acquisition across India and Malaysia, which also brings further number of pay slips and adds more and more to our module suite. And that acquisition was announced in mid-July on our ASX. So we've done acquisitions since our listing, and we'll continue to look at opportunities. So that we've done at least one every fiscal year. The FY19 year, we acquired a business in India. We call it PayAsia India. And in FY20, we acquired a great workforce management SaaS solution company in Australia called Astute One, which has further added to our suite of modules and services we can provide and given us a greater base in Australia. Our client base has also nearly doubled, which reflects the annual recurring revenue also doubling. Our internal employee size has also grown substantially, and that's predominantly because of the acquisition of Astute One in Australia. We focus very heavily on our organic growth as well. And how we measure our organic growth is the number of sales that we report on a quarterly basis in our 4 Cs that we announce on the ASX. In FY19, we closed $4.9 million worth of total contract value. And the total contract value is a 3-year projected revenue out of that one customer or out of multiple customers. That increased to 5.5 million in FY20. And as you'll see shortly, we've been able to demonstrate continued growth even in this challenging environment where we have in our first quarter of FY21, which is April to June this year, we've sold already $3 million worth of contracts compared to a 5.5 in the whole of FY20. So our growth trajectory is very pleasing indeed. And one of the core aspects of growth is really also in our operating cash position. If anyone has seen our 4 Cs since IPO, and what the guidance we gave to the market in half 2 of FY20 was that A, we wanted to make sure that we became operating cash flow positive. And we've been able to demonstrate that from FY19 to FY20, the minus 4.8 million operating cash flow that we had at the end of FY19 is almost neutral at FY20. But since half two, which is the October onwards from 2019, every quarter since, we've been demonstrating positive operating cash flow, which was one of our core guidance we gave to our investor base and for future investors. And the last point I want to touch on in the growth scorecard links directly to our organic growth, which is our global partner program. And the global partner program acts as a great extension to our organic growth, where some of the world's finest organizations out of US and out of Europe partner with PayGroup across Asia, Pacific, and Middle East, where PayGroup has a significant presence and an undisputed leadership in payroll and HCM delivery. They do all the selling to their customer base in US and Europe, and they choose PayGroup to deliver that for their customers on an ongoing basis. So it really acts as a great extended sales team for us. And we've extended that partnership from 3 companies to 7 companies in FY20. Next slide, please. What are the next few, what's the growth opportunities for PayGroup? We're going to continue to adopt more and more digitization as the world works remotely, as the world faces more challenges in making sure that their employees are kept whole, kept compliant, paid on time. We will continue to provide mission critical services. These are payroll, compliance, and payments. And on top of that, we will add strategic HCM modules to ensure that we cover our clients and compliance employees from a hire to retire. We're going to continue looking at acquisitions and partnerships. We're very bullish, and since IPO, we have had a great number of approaches to us for companies wanting to be part of PayGroup because they've seen the journey that we've taken and want to be part of that growth with us. And we'll continue to grow all our different service lines, which is offering payroll and compliance and payments as a service model, offering our HCM suites as SaaS model, and growing our treasury division, which has been the fastest growing division within PayGroup over the last few months. Next slide, please. What does F121 look like? I already mentioned to you that our Q1 has been a tremendous quarter of sales, and we'll continue that trajectory of selling to more and more customers as adoption of digitization of payroll and HCM is increased. We'll increase our global partnership program and ensure that we can bring in more and more treasury services to upsell and cross-sell to our existing base. Our organic growth and acquired growth will ensure that we continue to increase our annual recurring revenue on an ongoing basis as we move our company from a micro to small cap based land. And of course, we should never forget how to do things more efficiently, where PayGroup's very focused on identifying cost efficiencies to ensure that we not only focus on our top line, but also our bottom line. Next slide, please. Just to introduce you to our board of directors, very dynamic and industry focused. Basically the board, we call it $1 billion board. We've got Ian Basser, our chairman, who used to run Chandler McLeod, $1 billion company, which sold to recruit.com. Mark Samlal, who's our managing director and CEO and a board director, has extensive experience in the industry of HR and has run hundreds of million dollars of companies on the Singapore Stock Exchange. Frank Niron Bansal on the right corner is a guru in the payroll space globally and spent over 25 years at the global leader called ADP. And when he left ADP, he joined PayGroup to help PayGroup become the ADP of Asia Pacific. And David Fagan, who has ex-managing partner of Clayton Utz in Australia, rounds us off with his great expertise around banking and finance to keep the group growing, especially in its treasury functions as we focus on that aspect. Next slide, please. So how do you find out more? Well, we've uploaded our presentation onto the ASX portal today. So if you click on PYG, you'll find this, and the click here button when you get the presentation will take you to quite a range of analyst reports who've researched PayGroup over the last 2 years and have their own independent opinion on where our growth is projecting. Thank you very much, Tim and David.
Thank you, Sachin. Sorry, I've had some internet problems at my end today.
No problem.
We've got some questions around, I mean, they're really impressive numbers. A lot of the growth comes from acquisition. What's the future plan for acquisitions relative to natural growth, for want of a better word?
Focus is on both. So organic growth comes from our internal sales force that's spread around some locations in Asia Pacific and Europe. We have a global partner program, as I'd mentioned, and that really does generate a lot of sales for us, where these partners who sell global deals sell using the PayGroup rate card of traditional services and modules, and basically hand over those clients when they sign them for us to deliver. So that organic growth will continue. The acquisition part of our growth is where a lot of single or 2 or 3 country solution providers want to join PayGroup under what we term the acqui-hire. So they're very similar service providers that we have today, like payroll, compliance, payment, and some module suites. And we bring them into PayGroup to enhance our geographical offering, or B, a modular offering, or C, bringing on some great contracts that they have. So the focus really is on both, Tim, in parallel.
And there's a couple of questions here. There's been a lot of underpayment scandals of Woolies, MasterChef,
Yes.
Can't remember, George, whoever. So is this a program that is embedded inside these businesses, or is it something that you operate externally? Is there a compliance reason to be using this software as well?
Well, absolutely. Some of the misunderstood aspects of underpayments today are that the technology doesn't work properly. The key here is that when you hire people in HR who'd never went to uni to study HR, they're trained to be perhaps accountants, or they've got some experience in HR, and you're asking them to implement a complex suite of awards, let's talk about Australia for a second, into a payroll platform across a range of employment agreements. This is where your underpayments are coming in place. I think the most recent one this week has been Din Tai Fung. You know, some staff has been underpaid. Well, that's really a reason for the softwares in place are fine. It's how you implement all those awards and all those employee agreements, and how you do your quality controls and your checking around what the system's producing. So we've got that across 33 countries, across 14 years, across all the multinationals, with 95% retention rate. And we are, you know, all our clients get audited with their compliance and statutory regulations. We make the payments on time. So it really is a function of knowing how to use the great systems out there, but not just how to use the systems, how to quality control around it and be an expert in compliance globally.
Sachin, and just one more question. There's some questions here about your competitors.
Yep.
Elmo gets mentioned. Can you talk to who your competitors are in this space?
Yeah, we get compared to Elmo a lot in Australia. Elmo, great company, focuses on your strategic HR, things like learning and development, whereas PayGroup has been born through the critical aspects of HR, payroll, compliance, payments, lodgement. We've added strategic HCM on top of that, but our core remains making sure that we are part of a mission critical. And who are our competitors there? The Goliath in the world is ADP. You've got a recent one called Ceridian that's been making some acquisitions. They made an acquisition in Australia last year, and they're bought in Asia this year. You've got Ascender, the old Talent2 business, which spun off to become Ascender, and they provide a multi-country solution across their modules of services. So these are the common names that you'll look around globally, but for a 33 country Asia Pacific and Middle East solution through one vendor, really there isn't anybody else that does that.
Great, thanks for your time, Sachin. That's all we have time for. A great story. I could see a lot more M&A in this space playing out.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Finally, we have up Armour Energy, ASX code AJQ, with a market cap of around $20 million. It's got a 1 year return of around minus 70%. It's been belted because of the oil price, I suggest. It's an exploration and production company focused on the discovery, development and production of gas and associated liquids, delivering to the East Coast domestic gas market. We have with us the well-experienced CEO and Director, Brad Lingo. He's has a 30-year history, a range of oil and gas leadership roles, including business development, new ventures, mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance. He was previously the CEO of Drill Search. Brad, thanks for your time. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you, David. It's really a pleasure to present here on ShareCafe today and to familiarize the audience with the Armour Energy story. Fundamentally, Armour is one of Australia's leading domestic explorers, but also underpinned with a firm production base. Thematically, we are primed for growth and focused on delivery. That's one of the things that I'm almost, pathological about, saying what we're going to do and doing what we say. And that comes right down to quality of execution. We have a vast prospective acreage in proven fairways. We've got a deep multi-TCF resource project and prospects pipeline. We have material reserves already established with growth from overlooked pay from previous operators. And we've got this long life production with near-term growth in that production in our core production base in the Surat Basin in Eastern Australia. We are an operator of most of our assets, which gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we deliver, when we deliver, how we manage our focus in terms of an ability to focus on our highest and best opportunities. We also have significant infrastructure and capacity in that infrastructure as we increase production. We also, uniquely for the size of a company, have a unique positioning of our resource base, both reserves and contingent and prospective resources, in close proximity to the essential infrastructure to deliver our natural gas reserves and resources to market. We have established clear priorities and are absolutely focused on delivering to those. And we've got an experienced management team that are committed to this execution. Next slide, please. To familiarize people with our geographies, we've got 4 core areas with our core production area in the Surat Basin with direct access to the markets of Gladstone and Brisbane in the large scale LNG projects that are exporting massive amount of Australian natural gas to the markets across Asia. We are a supplier under long-term contract to one of those LNG projects operated by APLNG. We have a vast acreage position, and we're really the frontier explorer to establish the prospective resources of the Northwest Queensland and Northeast Northern Territory, our Northern Basins area. And we are one of the few players, I think the only player in those Northern Basins that have actually established a conventional oil and gas resources, not just unconventional, with existing discoveries, which we're actively progressing to development and production, with a stretch target of putting those discoveries into production by 2022. We have newly acquired acreage in the Cooper Basin, which I'm highly familiar with from my days at Drill Search, where we were focused only on the Cooper and had grown Drill Search from a sub $40 million market cap company to over 800 million, which was subsequently acquired by one of its operating partners, Beach Energy, who many of you are familiar with. But also uniquely positioned, we've got a significant position down in the Southern Basins of the Otway and the Gippsland. Next slide, please. In terms of our corporate snapshot, we have a market cap of about 16 million. We have just under 5 million of cash on hand. We have proved and probable natural gas reserves of 150 petajoules of sales gas, significant amount of liquids reserves, oil, condensate, and LPGs, and we have significant 2C contingent resources that we want to move into reserves over the next year. Moving on to the next slide. My leadership team, we are very, very focused on delivery and how we can maximize the value of our existing portfolio. Next slide. In terms of our operational and financial performance, it has been a strong past year for us, in spite of the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have the strong focus on building up our existing production. We have recently demonstrated how we can get more out of existing assets with the successful stimulation campaign at our Mile Creek 5A well. And we're now looking at implementing an additional 6-well program to deliver the same sort of results out of other existing wells, to try to move our current production rate of about 8 terajoules a day to up to the 20 terajoules a day based on our existing Kincora gas plant capacity. We have been focused and have demonstrated our ability to drive down operating costs, drive down G&A and corporate costs. We have also demonstrated our ability to reduce debt through selling non-core assets, where we have recently brought in over $10 million, 50% of which has gone to debt retirement. We've actually brought our debt down by nearly $10 million over the last year. And we have some very exciting assets in the Cooper Basin. Next slide, please. I've already mentioned our substantial reserves and resources. Here's a very detailed table for people to go through. I challenge many of the companies to point to this level of reserve, contingent resource, and prospective resources that Armour has under its belt. Next slide, please. I mentioned our proximity to markets and our proximity to essential infrastructure. You can see the flames across the map in terms of where our core assets sit and their proximity to accessing all the Australian markets from Darwin to Melbourne and all points in between. That's a very unique position for a company of Armour size. I'd probably say the only comparable players that have that same asset spread are both Santos and Beach, which are ASX 100 companies. Next slide, please. We've got a clear growth strategy. We've successfully completed the first 2 stages of that. We're part of the way through the delivery and stage phase 3, and we've got a clear pathway in phase 4, where we've already started delivery there. Next slide. In terms of those priorities, we've got a very clear priority to increase our current production rates by another 4 to 6 terajoules a day from our 2021 Surat development work program, and deliver those on time and on budget. The objective of that is to generate sufficient free cash flow to cover all operating and corporate costs, and ultimately provide future reinvestment capital for further development and exploration expenditure. We've got a priority to bring in a joint venture partner on our vast 100% operated acreage position in the Mount Isa Super Basin in the Northern Territory. Objective there is to recover our historical investment costs, apply that recovery to a substantial reduction of debt, and to secure significant amount of free carry for our future work programs in that acreage. We also have assets that on our balance sheet are underutilized, and we want to put those assets to work with a view to recover and release value, which we can also then apply to further debt reduction. And clearly, one of our key objectives is to materially reduce our current debt position, ultimately to deliver a strengthened, unencumbered balance sheet, allowing maximum business flexibility. We also want to consolidate in our core areas, and that'll continue to be a significant focus for us. We've got clear work programs set out for the coming year, and as I said earlier, we want to be recognized as a company that says what it's going to do and does what it says, and then come back and remind you that we did have a very clear plan, that we delivered to that plan, and delivered the value of that plan to our existing shareholders. Next slide, please. Core area, Surat Basin. That's 100% owner and operator of the Kincora gas project. It's quite significant. It's closely located to one of Australia's major gas supply hubs at Wallumbilla, which means it's very strategically located. We've got significant 2P sales gas reserves, and we have a large position of uncontracted gas that we look to maximize the value out coming forward. And we have transformational exploration opportunities within that acreage. Next slide. Just a quick overview of that Kincora gas processing plant and infrastructure, where we have significant existing capacity and significant ability to expand the capacity of that plant. Next slide, please. In terms of our near-term development program, we've demonstrated what our chairman likes to refer to as vertical exploration. We've recognized that previous operators overlooked a lot of significant resources in existing fields and existing wells, and we're going back and harvesting those, demonstrating the producibility of those zones. We have an upcoming 6-well program that we're going to execute in 2 stages. The green stars reflect the first 3 wells that we're going to go and re-enter those existing zones, stimulate those zones, and look to replicate the same result we got out of the Mile Creek 5A well, and with a view of significantly ramping up existing production to take advantage of that existing gas gathering and processing capacity that we have. We should have that program commenced by the end of September and fully completed pre-Christmas, with a view that we'll commence the second stage of that program in the March-June quarter next year, with seeking to replicate similar results as we look to reach for that 15 terajoule a day and ultimately up to the 20 terajoule a day. It is a significant program that we can replicate as we have more than over additional 10 wells to pursue these same sort of projects in successive campaigns. Next slide, please. We have significant exploration potential within the Surat, where there's a multi-TCF tight wet gas fairway that's already been demonstrated. I was involved at another company where we actually did the discovery well that proved that up, that play up, which is now being pursued in the immediate adjacent acreage to us by Shell and Santos. It's quite exciting for us, and we're looking to really ramp up our activity in the next 18 to 24 months to pursue that activity. Next slide. We also have one of these underutilized assets, which is quite unique to Armour, which is the Newstead gas storage project. It's an existing gas storage. It's proven. At this point, it's underutilized. That storage alone is equal to an existing Q-Flex LNG tanker. When you look at what's happened in Australian gas prices over the last 12 months, where they've come down from over $8 a gigajoule to under $3 a gigajoule, and we have underutilized storage, it's a perfect opportunity for us to partner with someone to store a lot of gas quite quickly to capture the arbitrage opportunity as gas prices rebound, as they're expected to, as we get through the back end of the COVID crisis. It has significant expansion capacity as well, where we can take that single LNG tanker worth of gas storage to up to 4 to 6 LNG tanker volume. So it is goes from a $25 million worth of gas price arbitrage to well over 100 million, and on very little capex. Next slide, please. Our next big core area are northern basins. We hold a dominant position in both the MacArthur and the ISA super basin. Multi-TCF in the MacArthur, we're 100% operator. We've got significant both conventional and unconventional gas play fairways, multiple conventional existing discoveries. We've got world-class prospective resources, both conventional and unconventional, that are almost eye-watering in scale. In the ISA Super Basin, we recently brought in Santos as our joint venture partner there, where we now hold a 30% interest covering over 40,000 square kilometers with 6.6 TCF of net gas reserves to Armour, not reserves, but prospective resources. Let's dive in closer on our MacArthur Basin conventional. This is a play that Armour holds uniquely. We are the only person that holds this acreage. We are the operator. We have existing discoveries. We prove the play. This was not recognized. This was not established by anyone other than Armour. And we are actively progressing this from discovery to production and going through a process with the Northern Territory government to convert these into production and retention licenses, and with multiple replicable locations. It is low cost. It is proximate to infrastructure. It is proximate to market. And we're looking to turn this into a very exciting opportunity for our shareholders. Next slide, please. We want to lead our unconventional plays in the area with that conventional, so that we can follow up and show the prolific nature of the MacArthur Basin, but lead it with the conventional and follow it up with the unconventional, which is multiples of what we already have in the conventional play fairway. Next slide, please. I already mentioned our joint venture farm-in with Santos, where they're carrying us for the next 4 years on a $65 million worth of work program. And we look to assist Santos in every way to maximize the value of that acreage. Next slide, please. We recently have entered the Cooper Basin with key acquisitions and key acreage in the northern flank oil and wet gas fairway and in the southwestern flank oil and wet gas fairway. Armour is the operator, 100% acreage holder, and as soon as we complete these acquisitions, we will be the fourth largest 100% acreage holder in the South Australian Cooper Basin, which time and time again has shown how prolific it is. Next slide, please. We are applying a state-of-the-art technology to really demonstrate how, what I'd say, underexplored and underexploited the Cooper Basin is. You can see from applying this advanced seismic, 3D seismic analytical technology that we're able to very quickly and rapidly see what others haven't seen, applying the latest in essentially 3D seismic artificial intelligence interrogation. So we see it as an extremely exciting opportunity for us from an exploration perspective. Next slide, please. We have our position in the Southern Basin, where we have existing contingent resources in the Gippsland Basin, in the Wombat, Triffin, and Gangle accumulations. We also have a significant conventional footprint in the Otway Basin that we're looking to advance now that the drilling and production moratoriums that were put in place in Victoria have been listed, which allows us to get back to work as of July next year. Next slide, please. To round it out, we're primed for growth and focused on delivery. We have vast prospective acreage positions, a deep multi-TCF resource project and prospect pipeline. We've already have material reserves with growth from overlooked pay, long life production assets with near-term growth and activity. We are an operator with significant infrastructure and capacity and room for growth within that on a very low cost basis, virtually zero cost in the Kincora plant, up to 20 terajoules. Well-established pathway to these premium markets. We've got clear priorities and focused on growth and delivery, and we've got an experienced team that knows how to do it. Thank you. I'm ready for questions.
Thanks, Brad. We've got time for one. There's been a lot of M&A in the areas that you're playing in. Do you see that as an opportunity for Armour?
It is. I think there's always an opportunity for consolidation. One of our priorities on our priority slide was to consolidate within our focus areas. We want to continue to build the company both organically, but also through consolidation. If it adds value to our existing assets and we have the capacity to add value to those other opportunities, we see those as natural bolt-ons to us.
And Brad, I'll give you one more because it's a bit of a theme. They're talking about, a lot of investors here asking questions about debt in terms of when you're going to pay down debt and what's the strategy for that?
Look, I think in our clear priorities, we've identified at least 3 ways that we can significantly reduce our debt quickly in the near term. One, we've got organically delivering on our organic projects to increase operational free cash flow. 2, we have a focus on bringing in a joint venture partner in recovering invested capital out of our material position in the McArthur Basin. Now, we've got a demonstrated track record of that. When we brought Santos in, that has already brought in $21 million of upfront payments. And of that $21 million, we've already used $10 million or nearly $10 million to reduce debt. We have more of a significant investment in the McArthur Basin. And if we simply replicate what we've done in the Isa Super Basin with Santos and are able to capture, which we definitely believe we are able to recover that same amount of capital, we can nearly have our existing debt. We also have, third, we've got underutilized assets like the Newstead gas storage project. We see that as a significant opportunity to unleash additional capital, a unique position with a unique asset, with a unique value proposition that is the right type of asset at the right time. If you look what's happened in, let's say, the global oil markets, you have big commodity financial players that have actually gone out and are leasing oil tankers simply to buy oil cheaply and store that oil and then take it to market. That's exactly the same sort of opportunity that Newstead represents for somebody else who wants to do that around gas that's right there, cheap at the Wallumbilla hub. Newstead sits right on the doorstep of Wallumbilla, and you've got 3 of the biggest LNG export facilities that are ultimately going to be wanting that gas at higher prices. So there's a massive arbitrage opportunity. That gives us an opportunity to unleash even further capital. And with that, I think we can exit by executing those 3 strategies in the near term with a relatively unencumbered balance sheet.
Right, thanks, Brad. Thanks for your time. That brings to an end our ShareCafe webinar. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to ask a question, you can't put your hand up. I can't access that. So next time, just type in the Q&A and we can get to those questions. We'll have some follow-up content on ShareCafe from the companies presenting today. You'll get a copy of the webinar that'll be sent to you. Thanks for your time. Next week, we're talking biotechnology. Have a good weekend.